Okay, so I'm back with you. I am back with the finished pâte brisée. And remember, the pâte brisée is the pastry dough that we use when we are using a raw filling. So we need to line a tart pan. Now I have several kinds of tart pans out here. I have a rectangular tart pan with a removable bottom. The bottom comes out. So those are used a lot for this type of dough. I have a tart ring that has no bottom, as you can see, and this is used more for the pâte sucré. And then I have really what's like a little brioche mold, but this would work for a little miniature tart very well. I would butter this or give it a little spray, just because these particular pans are made out of an old tin, and they do have a tendency to stick, so we want to be really careful with that. I have two types of rolling pins, French rolling pin or a dowel, and I also have a kind of all-American rolling pin that is has a rod going through it, and so it spins. Honestly, I love these. I guess I'm kind of all-American. So I have a little bowl of bench flour. As you know, bench flour is never pastry flour, always all-purpose or bread flour. Pastry flour is just too starchy to effectively prevent this dough from sticking. Now I hermetically sealed this and I can't seem to find it because I don't have my glasses on, but I will find it. There we go. Now this is, I just know, this is too much dough to fill this tart pan. So I think what I'll do is whack off about that much and take this piece, wrap this back up for future use. You'll notice I have a couple of different tools here. I have a bench scraper, I have a plastic bowl scraper. I want to think rectangular because I'm rolling a rectangle. So I flour the bench, I flour the dough, I flour the rolling pin, I flour my foot and my skirt, and then I begin to roll. So we don't want this dough to stick to the bench, and we don't want to roll off the edges of the dough, just like with the puff pastry. So start in the middle, push your way out, come back to the center and pull towards you. Stop, make sure you're not sticking to the bench, put a little more flour underneath it and on top of it if you have to. You have the tart pan, or should have the tart pan, right in front of you. What you will have are disposable 4-inch tart pans, but the process will be the same. So I'm going to check, not quite long enough, so I have to continue to lengthen this piece of dough so that it's about an inch bigger all the way around than the length and width of the pan. So I'm getting there. I'm actually going to turn it, flour again, and the floor, and continue to just widen it on the narrow ends and make it as even as I can. This dough can be re-rolled once. Beyond that, you don't want to re-roll too much. All right, I think we have it. Can you see the butter going through it? You can see bits of butter. That's going to be responsible for, that will make it, that's what will be responsible for helping to tenderize and make this a nice tart dough. Now I'm simply going to lift it up and drop it into the tart pan. Nice, hey? Lift, never stretch. Lift, lift, lift and drop, lift and drop, lift and drop. Make sure it's all fitted in there well and you haven't stretched it. Tuck it in, and then you're simply going to take a rolling pin, doesn't matter which one, and press all the way down. Come back towards you, and voila, you have a tart pan lined with pâte sucré. So depending on what tart you're going to make, or what tart I'm going to ask you to make, you may be doing the same exact thing, but you might have to be rolling them in rounds. And I'm going to show you how to deal with that in 1 second. Okay, so we've lined a rectangle. That was easy enough. What if we have a bunch of small ones? It's a little more challenging. What we need to do is generally account for the depth of the tart pan. So you turn the tart pan over, and pretty much you've got to leave at least a 1/2 inch or so around the perimeter. So put your pastry dough on a cutting board, and oops, didn't leave enough there, I can assure you of that. Lift it up, lift your pastry up, and you repeat the same process, there we go, that we used for the rectangle. We drop it in, fit it to the sides. It's got a little small bottom, and then you can do it with your hand, or you can do it with the rolling pin. And that is the way you line a little mini one, okay? So there's that. Now, if you want to, in the interest of not cutting on my counter, I'll put this ring here, and I need to do the same thing. I want to leave about a 1/2 inch all the way around. So I'm just going to come around, and again, if you have a set of biscuit cutters, that works just fine. This would be put on a sheet pan lined with parchment, and then you would drop the pastry dough in, and we roll this pastry dough out about 1/8 of an inch, maybe just a tad bit more. So I don't know if you can see the thickness of it, but it's not very thick. We don't want a thick dough, right? So now you're in this ring. So we need to take a paring knife, and although this looks plastic, it's not. And you just go around the edges from the inside out and trim so that you have a nice, neat edge. So I can't really move this guy because he doesn't have a bottom, but there we have 3 different tarts. We have a rectangular tart, we have a 3.5 inch round, and we have a little fluted tart. What we put in them will be determined, but once you do this, you do the same exact thing for the pâte sucrée, so same thing. All right.